They are the monsters of the motorhome sector. Long-distance trucks for adventure holidays off the beaten track. The off-road giants are expected to take their owners to the most remote parts of the globe in comfort and safety. This places great demands on the firms that build them. Out in the wilderness, the smallest manufacturing error can have serious consequences. The residential containers in particular are something special. Huge water tanks, fridges, toilets, showers, and aircon units have to be installed in a minimal amount of space. Some like it practical and compact, but others want 5-star total luxury. But all these vehicles have one thing in common. They are all veritable off-road caravan monsters. Berlin isn't really seen as pristine wilderness, but it is here that top-drawer expedition trucks are built. Andre Schwartz is an expert in this field. He's already built more than 50 long-haul motorhomes.
And the next, please.
This is his next project, a decommissioned NG80 fire truck built by Mercedes in 1988. In this state, the vehicle is worth around 15,000 euros. After conversion, it will sell for around $250,000.
Fire trucks like this weren't used much. This one is 30 years old but has only 27,000 kilometers on the clock, so it's a good basis for a long-distance camper.
Although the former local authority vehicle has outdoor potential, it will take a good year to turn the old fire truck into a high-end, long-distance motorhome. As with every project, the complex conversion work begins with dismantling. The old container has to go.
We need the holes to attach the belts to lift up the superstructure in such a way that it's balanced.
The container used to house the water tank, along with the pump, tools, and equipment for the firefighters. But now the fire truck has served its purpose. When lifting the container, the men have to take care that the chassis isn't damaged.
This is our jack of all trades, a last generation IFA L60, basic but very reliable. We use it for lifting all of our cabins and moving our heavy parts. It has been doing that for nearly 30 years and has never let us down. I wouldn't swap it for anything in the world.
All the connections between the frame and the container have been severed. The old East German crane tries to lift the 600 kilograms off the chassis. But after 30 years together, the two are far from willing to part.
Jammed? Have you got a crowbar?
The search for the problem begins. 10 years' experience of converting old vehicles pays off.
They fed the steel cable through there. What a disaster. Let me have a go.
The problem is the winch's steel cable. It goes right through the chassis and inadvertently secures the superstructure.
We'll remove a section of the floor and cut off the cable guideway. That should do the trick. There's always some snag.
The hole in the floor is no problem. The old fire brigade container will be scrapped anyway. An hour later, the problem is solved. The chassis and the container have been separated. In this business, delays are par for the course.
Let's give it another try.
This time, the cabin lifts off the chassis with ease. The team are back on schedule. The old cabin is lowered to the ground. The chassis can now be inspected. It's in good condition and rust-free. Later, it will be cleaned and repainted. The leaf springs will be re-engineered and the entire frame raised 10 centimeters. The men will also replace the brake lines and install a new cable harness for the electrical system. That's a lot of work for the Berlin team.
Oh, the exhaust has fallen apart. So much for fire brigade maintenance standards.
So it too will have to be replaced.
We'll have to change quite a few things. The braking system is totally unsuitable for what we need. Taking out the fire brigade tank will create space for perhaps 2 400-litre fuel tanks, 800 litres of diesel, and a storage unit for the batteries. But first we need to know how heavy the vehicle is.
After drastically slimming down the truck, Andre Schwartz has to know how heavy what's left is. That is crucial for detailed planning of the conversion. This plant, 600 kilometers further south, in Vilshofen on the Danube, manufactures commercial vehicles and trucks. And today it has received a very special guest. This brand new MAN TGS is to be turned into an off-road caravan monster. The truck already has a price tag of 220,000 euros. Powered by a 12.5-liter 480 horsepower engine, it has 4 axles and an 8x8 drive unit. But that's not enough.
The vehicle is 9 meters long, but the customer wants us to extend it by another 2 meters.
In order to support a huge, luxurious residential cabin later, the frame will be extended to 11 meters. First of all, this means dismantling the rear axle unit. It alone weighs 2,000 kilograms and is part of the all-wheel drive system. The expedition vehicle has been commissioned by an Arab prince. Above all, he attaches priority to pure luxury. But before the extensions can be welded on, the frame first has to be reduced in size by 20 centimeters. The large holes for attaching the old bumper would make the construction unstable. Weighing more than 50 kilograms, the steel extensions are made-to-measure elements and have to be fitted with total accuracy. Any deviation would alter the static equilibrium of the frame, and off-road, that could prove disastrous. Later, the MAN will spend a lot of time in desert conditions. In such difficult terrain, the chassis will be exposed to enormous torsional forces. The weld seam must not rupture under any circumstances. With gas-shielded welding, a gas, like argon for instance, forms a kind of protective atmosphere around the welding wire. This prevents any oxygen bubbles from getting into the seam, because that would make the seam unstable. Five hours later, the chassis is 2 meters longer. Including the residential cabin, the truck now weighs 27 tons. Consequently, 4 reinforcing brackets also have to be fitted. Each bracket is secured with more than 20 bolts. The Arab prince plans to undertake expeditionary trips with his small family. To ensure that all 4 of them feel totally comfortable, he wants the furnishings to be luxurious.
Is that extravagant for a prince? Not really. I think it's okay.
The rear axle unit is put in its new position and attached to the frame with 12 bolts. Later, it will be connected up again to the drive shaft and the brake and electronic systems. The new wheelbase of more than 8 meters will demand a great deal from the driver. Back in Berlin, Andre Schwartz has to determine the weight of the old fire truck in order to plan the design of the residential cabin exactly. This concrete surface is a truck weighing machine. After conversion, the vehicle must not weigh more than 7.5 tons. Its future owner obtained his driving license before 1998. so he can only drive a vehicle with a maximum weight of 7,500 kilograms. For anything heavier than that, he would need a heavy goods vehicle license.
5,820 kilograms. The cabin, windows and everything will add another 900 kilograms, leaving 800 for the interior fittings. Add the weight of a full fuel tank, and the limit is pretty close.
So the Berlin team doesn't have much leeway. The container has to be as light but as stable as possible. Andre Schwartz knows from experience how important that is. He himself has traveled far and wide in his own long-distance camper, an old IFA L60 built in 1989 in former East Germany. As you can imagine, Andre converted it himself. A qualified construction mechanic with a degree in geography, today he designs vehicles for other people. In doing so, Schwartz and his team specialize in recycling and converting old trucks. Part 2 of his Fire Brigade project has arrived, an almost identical NG80 Mercedes from 1985. This old local authority vehicle costs 13,000 euros.
From the color, you'd think it was a police vehicle. From the structure, I reckon it belonged to a kind of pioneer brigade. It has a large cabin and 4 seats. That's really good and also makes it suitable as a long-distance motorhome. And it has a winch, which is far from common. The truck has a few features which can be put to good use for long-distance travel.
The police truck will serve as a source of spare parts and special components for building up the fire truck. Official vehicles receive regular maintenance and rarely have many kilometers on the clock.
So let's see what they provided us with.
At one time, the vehicle was used for transporting barriers for demonstrations. Perhaps the load area might yield something useful.
So what have we got here? Oh, a set of tires and a load of office furniture. So this is how you save money on refuse collection. We'll have to think about what to do with it. Let's see if the tires are any good. Sometimes you strike it lucky. Vehicles like this are always a bit of a surprise package. Let's check everything out.
But the absolute jackpot is the large driver's cab with its 4 seats, an absolute rarity with this model. But that actually is what the team had their eyes on. The green cabin is 60 centimeters longer and will soon be fitted to the fire truck. The MAN truck has now arrived at the special body construction firm in Hesse. With its chassis extended, the TGS is now an impressive 11 meters long and weighs 8 tons. But this truck's large size isn't necessarily an advantage.
Off-road, there are limits even for vehicles like these. If the angle of approach and descent on a hill are too steep, the truck could bottom out. With its really long wheelbase, there is that risk. Otherwise, for its size and length, it has great cross-country mobility.
Today, the truck will be married with the huge residential cabin to give the off-road giant a total weight of 27 tons. The marriage will be attended by a royal visitor. The prince has come from Qatar for an intermediate inspection. This extravaganza on 8 wheels will cost him 1.2 million euros. Anyone paying that kind of money has a right to his own special requests. The CEO will accompany the prince and his assistants during their inspection.
Generally speaking, I must say that customers from the Middle East are all difficult, so to say. They have very special ideas, irrespective of whether they are technically feasible. But then again, we are bodywork specialists. We turn the client's wishes into reality.
One special request for the front of the MAN is being discussed, a huge cable winch, and it will need to be protected from damage.
We'd like to integrate that with an underride guard because of the size of the winch. It'll be the biggest we've ever fitted. So it will need some protection. We'll have to redesign the entire front.
The inspection takes several hours. But today there's also something else involved. To give the prince as good an idea as possible of what the finished motorhome will look like, the huge residential cabin is going to be placed on the truck. The customer wants to see results. Back in Berlin, vehicle manufacturer Andre Schwartz is also about to carry out a serious operation. The two former local authority trucks have been prepared for a transplant.
We're going to switch the two drivers' cabins. Then we'll continue working with this cab on this truck.
The cabin on the police truck is much bigger, so it's more practical for adventure expeditions into remote areas. For the switch, the cab is secured with tear-proof crane hangers so that it can be raised under control with a forklift. The two local authority vehicles have the same wheelbase and are of the same make, good prerequisites for switching their drivers' cabs. The police truck is decapitated first. Its passenger cabin weighs around 800 kilograms, but that is no problem at all for the forklift. Although the two cabins look robust, the men work carefully. Any jarring could cause the windows in particular to crack.
Looks sad, doesn't it? But it won't be like that for long.
The driver's cab from the fire truck is now lowered onto the police vehicle, which over the next few days will be made roadworthy, officially certificated, and sold. But without this one particular part.
This bracket here supports the driver's cab. These here are the shock absorbers. You've seen how cabs rock. Well, the bracket cushions any unevenness in the road for the driver. We'll reinstall the bracket in the other vehicle because its cab is longer. In the end, it will be located in here and be sealed off.
The bracket is removed and reinstalled in the other truck. Without it, the driver would soon get a backache in off-road conditions. The old police cab still has to be altered. An opening is being cut in the rear wall of the driver's cab. The buyer wants to have direct access to the residential container. That's more convenient and also safer. Should danger threaten from the outside, for example in the form of wild animals, the driver could get to the steering wheel from the residential area and steer the vehicle to safety. After a good 3 hours, the four men have switched the two drivers' cabs. The next job is to dismantle old parts.
One problem, of course, is that we now have lots of old material. We'll have to check what can still be used and what needs to be replaced. It takes roughly 1 day per driver's cab to get everything back the way it should be, to exchange the hydraulic cylinders and everything.
Exchanging the engines would have been too costly. In 2 days, both vehicles are roadworthy again. The project can progress. In Hesse, with the prince from Qatar looking on, the 9-meter-long residential cabin is about to be placed on the truck. Over the next few weeks, a luxury habitat will be created on an area of 25 square meters. The super camper will be able to withstand wind and rain for more than 30 years, thanks to the special walls made of 6-centimeter thick sandwich panels. The prince is already impressed.
Did you notice his smile when we stepped in here for the first time? That, of course, is what we want to see.
The cabin has 5 windows. Together with the door and the holes in the ceiling for the air conditioning, in all there are 13 openings. Later they will be particularly well sealed. Otherwise, the aircon system would not be able to generate acceptable temperatures in the mobile oasis.
I think here's going to be the master bedroom. Here going to be the toilet and the shower cabin. the kitchen area here, here the sitting area, and here the bunk bed room, and there is a small bathroom here to support this area.
One special feature is the slide-out, as it is known. The entire seating area can be hydraulically extended outwards from the outer wall, providing an extra 2 square meters of space. In the wilderness, this will be pure luxury, just like the comprehensive entertainment package.
A 55 or 60-inch TV is standard. And it's not just one we need, but 4. This means that there must be access to a TV from every angle. We'll probably also have to fit one in this slide-out as well.
Together with his wife and their 2 children, the prince also plans to undertake longer journeys in the mobile home.
Depends where we are. If that's on the Middle East, yes, it will stay for 15 or 20 days. But on Africa, no, sure, it will be more than 30 days.
The project got underway 6 months ago. The prince has spent more than €1 million. Now he wants everything wrapped up as soon as possible.
I think not more 3 or 4 months.
So time is of the essence. The final preparations are being made for the marriage of residential container and tractor unit. The presence of a high-ranking visitor from Qatar doesn't make the task any easier for the team.
Working on your own is a bit different from having the customer standing alongside watching you. This isn't exactly a VW Beetle that's being bolted together. Here, we're in a totally different price category.
5 men, these 18 bolts, and the ceiling crane are now called upon. First, the container is slowly lifted up.
Okay, that's it.
When the trestles have been removed, the 4,000-kilogram container hovers 2 meters above the floor of the workshop. The 8-ton bridegroom is now reversed through the gateway. No easy task with an 8-meter wheelbase.
When the mirrors pass the door, see to it that the nose comes over here a bit.
The driver has to be careful not to damage the wing mirror. On the underside of the cabin are 3 large lugs which have to fit with millimeter precision into the sockets on the truck's chassis. The 5-centimeter threaded bolts and diverse brackets will hold the construction together for years to come. It's only now that the group from Qatar are beginning to comprehend the size of the project. They have already come up with a name for it.
Yeah, because I think it's one of the biggest done till now. That's why we call it a monster. If you look, even the steps, it's hard to reach the first step of the car.
In Berlin, too, the focus is on the residential section.
We have to assemble the cabin in one day because tomorrow we'll be getting the parts for the next cabin for the Z-Tross. So we've got everybody here.
At Andre Schwartz's firm, all the residential containers are built on the spot. Here, too, the material consists of 6-centimeter sandwich panels. The walls consist of a specially foamed material enclosed on each side by aluminum sheeting, like a sandwich. This design ensures particularly good insulation. It's comparable to a 30-centimeter thick brick wall, only it is much lighter and thinner. The aluminum frame forms the basis of the residential unit. It weighs 180 kilograms. The joints are coated with special permanently elastic adhesive. It determines the time frame. The men now have 20 minutes to fit the wall. The container consists of 4 outer walls, a floor, and a roof. Each section weighs between 70 and 90 kilograms. On no account must the side elements be mixed up.
This goes at the bottom, and that goes at the back. We have to get a move on because of the adhesive. The greater the surface that has been glued, the harder the wall is to push. Careful, careful, back a bit. Okay.
Hundreds of rivets are driven through the walls and into the aluminum frame. Since riveted connections are very flexible, they're ideal for meeting the high demands of off-road conditions. Ultra-strong bodywork adhesive binds the frame to the floor. It too consists of sandwich panels, which have also been given a waterproof coating. 1 square meter of sandwich paneling costs about 100 euros. Later, all the walls will be firmly interconnected with thousands of rivets. The shell is almost finished. Andre Schwartz lifts the 90-kilogram ceiling section with the forklift. The entire structure is pushed under the roof. It will now become clear whether the team worked accurately.
This push-in connection will have to fit on 3 levels at once, so to speak. So we'll have to align the angles and position the roof in the middle.
The double rails have to be inserted in the wall simultaneously. After 3 hours, the box is almost finished. 5 meters long, it is 2 meters 50 wide and 2 meters 30 high.
This is where the bed will go. The toilet will be on my left and the shower on my right. This is where part of the kitchen will be. Later there will be a door here. The seating unit will go here at the front. So this will be the living area. The sleeping area will be at the back, with the sanitary facilities on the left and right.
The final wall is installed to close the 12 square meter box. But the residential unit for the prince from Qatar will be twice as big. His luxury liner has to be ready in just 5 months' time. A few kilometers away, the specialist vehicle manufacturers in Hesse have made a copy of the residential container. A carpenter is building the 2 bedrooms, the kitchen, the bathroom, and the extendable living area.
This is a one-to-one copy of the Qatar Mobile. It enables us and the prince to see what the rooms will look like. So in a way, we had to build the truck in advance.
The 25 square meters of off-road luxury will take weeks to build by hand.
This is the teak veneer for the project. I'm making the front panels for the bed.
The genuine teak veneer is only 0.6 millimeters thick. Teak is not only a high-quality wood, but it is also oily and thus repels water. The lengths all come from one tree. They are turned to again render the impression of being a trunk. This is of great importance to the customer. The carpenter wields the lengths together in several operations. This creates the special grain. The interior design will require 600 square meters of veneer, the area covered by 3 volleyball courts. Even non-visible areas like the insides of the cupboards and the underside of the bed are also being veneered. The base for the veneer is a multiplex panel made of birchwood. It is waterproof, but above all highly suitable for the tropics, since it will not warp in hot and humid conditions. The teak veneer is glued to the panel. Here, solid wood would not be so good.
Real timber would be too heavy.
Nor would it be flexible enough to survive the torsional forces of traveling through rough terrain. At a temperature of 80 degrees, the panel enters the press. The carpenter manufactures each individual board in this way. After 8 minutes, the panel with a teak look is ready for further processing. In the end, the carpenter will have put in 6,000 working hours. Today, he's finishing the double bed in the bedroom. Later, the bed box will contain the fresh water and sewage tanks. Countless drawers and other storage facilities still have to be built. And everything must be harmonious.
These walls all have the same veneer. It is the same picture throughout. It is really important to us that we will be installing wood from the same tree in this truck.
In all, the interior furnishings will cost 400,000 euros. In Berlin, there is no mock-up. Interior construction of the habitat has begun. 12 weeks have been allocated. Today, the water tanks are being installed. Andre Schwartz has calculated their position exactly. The heavy weight must be positioned exactly over one of the axles. Otherwise, there will be problems when the vehicle is driven.
These are the two freshwater tanks. Each holds 200 liters. With 2 people taking showers, that should last for a week. Without the showers, a few days longer.
The tanks are fitted in the bed box. A tight 12 square meters calls for good organization. Technical appliances like this fridge have to be installed immediately so as not to be in the way. The men have laid 600 meters of power cables and 40 meters of water pipes in the cabin. Now the walls for the sanitary facilities are erected. Nothing is separated from the rest of the cabin. Living, cooking, and sleeping will all take place in one room. But what happened to the old fire truck? In 2 months, it has experienced quite a few changes. Gone is the fusty local authority look. Once green, the driver's cab is now silver. The crew has reworked the old frame and painted it black. In addition, the chassis has been raised 10 centimeters and had bigger tires and new springs fitted. A new exhaust system fitted to the old engine produces a throaty sound. Today, the cabin is going to be fitted. This calls for special rockers.
The cabin is a 3-dimensional structure, and you can imagine if it moves the way the vehicle will move off-road, it will crack. Try it at home with a shoebox and watch the lid fly off. That's why we need these rockers, which will be installed under the cabin frame, so to speak.
You can see this better on another truck.
This vehicle gets its cabin next week, so here we still have the naked frame. But you can see that it's movable. But off-road, exactly the opposite happens. The cabin stays stationary and the vehicle under it moves.
Andre Schwartz developed the rockers himself. 3 of them are bolted under the cabin. The 3-centimeter threaded bolts are specially geared to the high weight. In future, they will have to withstand a great deal to keep the box horizontal. The residential cabin is lifted up with a forklift. The men don't have an overhead gantry. Hoisting heavy weights is extremely dangerous. If the cabin is not correctly balanced, it will topple. The boss himself drives the Mercedes under the residential box. Once again, millimeter precision is called for. The 3 steel rockers must be perfectly positioned. The cabin is now slowly lowered.
It's all about the rockers. Have they been welded properly? How much zinc and how much paint is on them? Will everything fit the frame perfectly? Otherwise, it'll have to come off and be reworked.
Okay, good.
But today, everything fits, and the 3 rockers are now bolted to the chassis. At the Special Body Company in Alsfeld, the biggest winch in the firm's history is being installed. The entire front of the truck has been redesigned just to meet this customer requirement. The winch's steel cable is 16 millimeters thick, 70 meters long, and weighs 150 kilograms. With installation, the winch costs 21,000 euros. The Arab giant has to change its location once again. Because of its huge turning circle, every movement on the company's premises is a challenge. Next stop is the painting line, where over the next 2 days, the residential cabin will be given its future color. The driver's cab already has the right color, so it has to be covered completely in film. The 13 cabin openings are also sealed. The two paint sprayers begin with a white primer. It will enable the actual top coat to adhere better and make it more stable. The color chosen by the prince is champagne silver. The paint sprayers will apply 3 coats to the 80 square meter outer skin of the container. In all, the monster will require 15 liters of paint. After 24 hours, the 5-layer paint finish is dry. It includes a double layer of clear varnish sealant to guarantee color fastness, even when exposed to high ultraviolet loads. The truck can go back into the fresh air. Time is pressing. Handover is only 3 months away. By then, the entire interior furnishings from the mock-up and all the pipes and cables have to be fitted. In Berlin, the driver's cab of the NG80 is tilted forwards. Located under it is the engine.
No need to worry. This is always a tense moment with driver's cabs.
An 8-cylinder, 14-liter engine that develops 280 horsepower.
Although it's nearly 30 years old, this beauty runs like it did on the first day. No matter where I am, in China, the Balkans, or in Africa, this truck is no stranger. You can get it repaired everywhere. That's not the case with the new trucks, which contain a lot of electronics. Then you need a computer to read things. They contain lots of sensors that can shut a truck down. Fortunately, that doesn't apply to the old models. They always work. And if something snaps, a blacksmith will repair it, and off you go again.
The opening is being cut in the wall of the container. Every long-haul motorhome from the Berlin firm has access to the living area from the driver's cab. Much has changed in the interior, too. Various storage compartments, shelves, and the bed box have already been completed. Designing the furniture alone takes 4 weeks. Completing the interior furnishings will require 3 months' work. 5 solar panels on the roof serve as a power source. They generate 680 watts. The energy is stored in batteries. The cable winch has to be tested prior to delivery in a month's time. It can roll up 60 meters of steel cable and pull 6 tons. Even though everything is going smoothly, the men in Berlin still have a lot to do.
No matter how much effort you put in beforehand, in the end it's always a tight schedule.
Things are also getting tight for the team in southern Germany. Final work is taking place in the interior of the Catermobile. The springs are fitted to the double bunk bed. In go the mattresses and the children's room is finished. The aircon system takes a bit longer. The fans are being fitted. A huge cover makes the complex system virtually invisible. With its 10,000 watts, the aircon system is the biggest power consumer and will probably run continuously.
It really is a high-performance aircon system, because it will be used in regions that are very hot and where there are great temperature differences between day and night.
So let's try it.
The aircon system is now running at full speed. A diesel generator produces the current for the cooling. The only disadvantage of the system is that it is loud.
Let's let it run for a while.
At the rear, the water tank is filled. The entire water circuit still has to be tested. The access pipe is located at a height of 2 meters.
The filling nozzle for the water tanks is also higher up. Because it's inside the vehicle, the tank can withstand temperatures of minus 40 degrees.
The 400-liter tank is located in the bed box. A water pump supplies the 2 toilets, the shower, and the kitchen via a 110-meter-long pipe network.
Water's running. There's still a bit of air left in.
The wastewater has to be pumped all the way back under the bedroom.
The tanks are under the bed. The pumping unit here pumps the water around the vehicle on the outside and then into the tanks.
These are the instructions for use. We'll leave them here to be read through.
The 2 toilets function perfectly, but they were expensive. Normally, you'll only find an extraction unit like this at sea.
The toilet pumps wastewater into the tank under the bedroom. The kind of special toilet that can cope with the requirements here is normally only found at marine suppliers.
The front of the gigantic long-distance motorhome has now been fitted with huge bull bars to protect the winch. It also has an LED lighting system to illuminate an area of 30 meters around the vehicle as bright as day. Installed on the roof is a solar unit consisting of 12 panels. It's essential because the motorhome is a real power guzzler.
When everything is switched on and the air conditioning is running, total consumption is about 12 kilowatts.
That's like 6 washing machines running simultaneously. In only a few weeks' time, the truck will be ready for delivery to the Prince in Qatar. It is in terrain like this that off-road vehicles are happiest. A former lignite mining area in eastern Germany now serves as a practice ground for off-road vehicles of all kinds. It's an ideal playground for Andre Schwartz and his expedition vehicles. After 12 months, the Fire Brigade project has been completed. Stefan Sieber, who runs an advertising agency, is the new owner. He has realized his dream. An all-wheel drive, long-distance motorhome with a 900-liter tank for exploring the world. It has cost him 250,000 euros. In some places, you can get a house for that. Today, Stefan Sieber is going to drive the vehicle for the first time.
When I think about what the original fire truck looked like, well, this is simply incredible. Who'd have ever imagined it?
In the living cabin, he had to make lots of decisions. The result, though, is convincing. Adventure holiday on 12 square meters, with real glass windows, a double bed, kitchen unit, toilet, and shower. The long planning phase has proved worthwhile.
It takes 2 to 3 years from the very first thought through to the finished product. The concept has to mature. But when you've made your decision to just do it, then you look forward to getting started. Today, I feel a kind of quiet happiness. And now, I'm going to try it out.
Try it out is the right approach. The driver training course in the former open-cast mine can begin. Andre Schwartz is the co-driver and instructor. The first obstacle is no problem for the inexperienced owner, but that was just a warm-up to give him a basic feeling for the Colossus.
So far, it's been easy to maneuver. Nice feeling.
But that's about to change. Stefan Sieber has to cross this mini canyon. It's hard work, not only for him but also for the rockers under the residential cabin. Instructor Tino Schultz knows every centimeter here. He works as an off-road coach in the former mine and guides the truck through the canyon. Without a pilot, Stefan Sieber would never get through here with his motorhome collecting its first dents and scratches. The terrain is immensely difficult. The 14-liter diesel engine has stalled. Getting stuck like this in the wilderness, far from civilization, could prove fatal. Stefan Sieber has to learn how to handle a situation like this. He's told to put the pedal to the metal. The rockers give everything to compensate for the massive tilting and twisting. They do their best to keep the huge living container horizontal. It's the litmus test for man and material. The all-wheel drive motorhome and its 30-year-old engine refuse to be dominated. 280 horsepower slowly ease the 7.5 tons through the sand. After 5 minutes, the canyon has been crossed. Level 2 has been mastered.
I can't say that I was particularly nervous. If you've never experienced it before, sitting in the cab feels just like being in a big car. A car that is driving off-road.
The Arab Colossus has also been released. The oversized MAN TGS is ready and is undergoing its first test drive in off-road conditions to make sure everything functions correctly. Very few people in this world can afford to pay 1.2 million euros for 25 square meters of luxury with 8x8 drive. The 11-meter-long expedition truck is absolutely unique. 6,000 work hours went into the interior construction alone. The prince wanted 2 bedrooms, 2 toilets, a large shower cabin, and a kitchen.
High-quality, made-in-Germany equipment wherever you look. We didn't want to make any compromises.
But the absolute highlight is the slide-out.
The slide-out extends the living section outwards by 60 centimeters, considerably increasing the interior space.
The hydraulics take 90 seconds to stretch out the 3-meter-wide extension, but only when the vehicle is stationary.
One special challenge posed by an off-road motorhome is that the living cell is exposed to special stresses. That's why this slide-out part cannot be 10 meters long. The torsional stresses would simply be too strong.
Over the next few weeks, the brand new MAN TGS long-distance motorhome will be shipped to Qatar. Then the prince and his family will at last be able to conquer the African continent. Off-road, of course. The 30-year-old Mercedes is also off-road. Owner Stefan Siebe is making an attempt at the next level of difficulty. This canyon is even longer and more twisted. The material is being pushed to its limits. Once again, the 7-meter truck is stuck in soft sand.
Let the clutch out slowly, then step on it. Let's go. Don't let up. Okay, that's it.
This time, Stefan Siebe is faring better. He just has to go downhill once more and has then passed the off-road test. After the test, Andre Schwartz checks the material. Over the last 2 hours, the 3 balancing rockers under the living container have had to withstand a great deal.
It's a feeling just like Christmas. I can't describe it. I finally reached the point where I can say, now we can head off.
Stefan Siebe's first trip will be to Morocco in Africa. And who knows, maybe the decommissioned fire truck will come across the Colossus from Qatar.